Good morning, Earthlings. How you doing today? Welcome to First Contact Radio. Let's jump into our cosmic weather, see what we have to deal with today. All right, we've got the solar wind at 448.0 kilometers per second. Remember yesterday we started to feel that effect of the CME. So we had some activity around the world in different locations there. The planetary K index for the day is at a 1, could get as high as a 4. That might be due to the effect of this flare coming in. Our chance for further flares is down to 20% chance. X-class flares, 5%. So we should be pretty good as far as anything else coming up. Alright, we move from there to our astrology for today. We're right here, the 18th. We're at the end of Capricorn as the sign, the sun sign. Getting ready to move from there into the next sign. But before we do, we're finishing things out. So remember, Capricorn is an earth sign. So we've been dealing with the element of earth. Earth is the byproduct of the other elements all mixed together. It's the final manifestation in this physical world. But the whole idea with earth has been to appreciate the earth, understand the earth, but know that it is not the be-all, end-all, that you have to look behind it a little bit further to see what's there, to look past, because in some ways earth could be just the illusion, that physical world. So we're challenged to look past it. In the tarot cards, the devil is the card representing Capricorn, which simply says we need to look past the surface things because they can be illusions to see what's actually behind it. On the unconscious mind, subconscious, we're in a void, of course. You can see right here between Aries and Taurus, first and second signs of the zodiac. Aries is a fire sign. Taurus is an earth sign. So we're going from fire to earth. From fire to earth. So we understand the balance of fire and earth because we've been dealing with it the last couple days. And throughout the course of this month, different mixtures of it. So today, that's where we're at. Fire. So it's a void, of course, going from ideas to practicality, okay? And there you go. This weekend, we're going to make that transition. So when we come back next week, we'll have a new focus, a new moon, a sun sign, which will be Aquarius. So that will be next. All right? All right, that's our astrology for today. The moon phase is first quarter, 47% of the way there. On the Mayan Oracle, we've started a new wave spell of the eagle. So that means the theme for this entire next 13 days is the eagle. The eagle's all about vision. All about vision, and the guide for today is the same, because one-tone days, when you have that theme, it's really kind of hammered home of the theme and the guide are all there just to really let you know and confirm what this theme is about to be. So the eagle is the vision, and so that's where we're at. If we're going to travel down the road, we want to have some sort of vision about where we're going. Inner vision, outer vision, you decide. It's your journey. But this just helps guide us along the way so we could see what it is we are working with. The supporting cast for today is the seed, which is all about planting a new beginning. We have the serpent, which is the challenge. It's how we use our life force energy. And then the hidden power is the world bridger, which is the lessons of life and death. Okay? And remember, this position here, it's called the hidden or occult position. Occult is a word that just means that which is hidden. People may try to tell you there's all sort of significance to it, but don't pay any heed to that. It's just a word. It means that which is hidden. and it doesn't mean anything more than that. So there you have it. Our phrase for today is I unify in order to create, attracting mind. I seal the output of vision with the magnetic tone of purpose. I am guided by my own power doubled. And on the Gregorian calendar, it is the 18th of January, 2013. All right, so continuing along, I see from some of your emails I've received and comments that you have been looking further into this life and teachings of the Masters of the Far East. It's awesome. It's a great series, isn't it? It's a really great series. I think I've read through them twice. But this is book 5, so check it out and enjoy as much as you've been enjoying the others. I'll be back in just a bit.
I am going to read the 5th book of the Life and Teachings of the Masters of the Far East. And in the first part of this book, there is a biographical sketch of Baird T. Spalding. And during the course of reading this book, I'm going to be doing a lot of commenting myself, because some of the things in this book concern me and my present day happenings that are happening with me. So just be prepared, because maybe not in this one, but in some of the ones that come along, I will be making some comments about what I'm reading. This is the biographical sketch. Whenever there is a flare of general interest in any personality or his achievements, such as has been evinced by the readers of the life and the teachings of the Masters of the Far East, you may be certain there is a flame of spiritual truth accompanying it. Few in modern times have created such an interest as Baird T. Spalding, whose name became legend in metaphysical and truth circles during the first half of the 20th century. Few sensed the flame of spiritual inspiration sweeping the world as did Mr. Spalding. The nature of the man, the manner in which his message has been presented, and the message all bear living testimony to the truth of his words and to the honor and sincerity of the man. The countless numbers of letters received through the years from all over the world bear testimony of the tremendous assistance from the message contained in his books, and such letters continue to pour in years after he passed over to a higher schoolroom. Baird T. Spalding passed beyond the veil on March the 18th, 1953, in Tempe, Arizona, at the age of 95. He was active in his mining interest right up to the end. Douglas K. DeVorce probably knew Mr. Spalding as well as anyone, due to their many years of association. And we quote from his talk given at the Spalding Memorial Service in Tempe, Arizona, on March the 22nd, 1953. Mr. Spalding was a very quiet, humble servant of all whom he met. He would never permit me under any circumstance in presenting him to audiences to dwell on the personality or on himself as a man of great accomplishment. Since 1935, I had the unique opportunity of traveling with him to more than 200 cities in North America. And though I lived with him almost 24 hours a day in a very close relationship most of those years, yet I must be frank and tell you that I do not believe any one person or group of persons really understood this great soul for so many different ways on so many different planes of activity. In making these few personal remarks, I am sure you understand we are doing this in a very humble way, because not only was he our friend, but a man who was like a father to many of us. There was not a town of any size anywhere in the world that I know of where Mr. Spalding couldn't walk into someone's home and sit down to dinner. He was always welcome, and during the past 25 years he lived very much, as we say, like a bird. He seemed to have reached a point of attainment where material things were not of great concern to him. Although his earnings as an individual over a period of time were unknown to me and to all of us, nevertheless he passed on not as a rich man at all. His material possessions are few. The great heritage which he left is in the unique discoveries which he made regarding the teachings of Jesus. Mr. Spaulding never wrote or lectured for financial profit or gain, and he was an open channel for any funds that came to him, distributing them immediately. We have no way of knowing the extent of his philanthropic enterprises because no one ever approached him who was in need of any material assistance that he didn't give them everything he had, and consequently he was always a very prosperous man. In fact, I know of no one who in a way was as rich as Mr. Spaulding, and many of us envied his unique attainment which he had reached through his very exceptional understanding, and which undoubtedly came to him very early in life. It was about 65 years ago that he first made some of these discoveries regarding Jesus and the lives of the great masters. He walked and talked with great masters in the visible world, even as did the great scientist Mr. Steinmetz, of whom he was a great admirer. I have seen pictures of Mr. Spaulding and Mr. Steinmetz together. Both Steinmetz and Edison predicted that the time would come when it would be possible for us to make recordings of the Sermon on the Mount and in the actual language and voice of Jesus at the time when he gave the Sermon on the Mount. Many other startling discoveries and disclosures, as I like to refer to them, were made by Mr. Spaulding during his long life of service and activity in all parts of the world. For instance, I want to go back to the idea of how his books came to be published. I have been told by people who knew Mr. Spaulding in Calcutta, India, in the early 90s, that he decided to write out in longhand some of the accounts of his experiences in India. Some friends asked him to type it and let them have copies, and for many, many years he carried these typewritten accounts of what later became Volume 1 with him. People would read them and pass them among themselves until finally a very prominent woman in Oakland, California, whose husband was the builder of the Oakland Municipal Railways, asked Mr. Spaulding if he would have any objection to her having her printer, the California Press in San Francisco, print 1,000 copies of his work in an inexpensive paper binding. She wanted to give every one of her friends a copy of that book. Mr. Spaulding gave his consent, and soon after this he left for England. The books were printed and passed among her friends as a gift. Within about 60 days, phenomenally as it seems, more than 20,000 orders were received for copies of that book. When Mr. Spaulding returned from England, of course he was astonished at the interest in his discoveries and experiences, so he permitted her to have the balance of the work published, which became known as Volume 2. Then there was a period of about 10 years that Mr. Spaulding did not do any writing, but nearly every night he was a guest or was visiting friends, and after dinner he would have a little question and answer period, and in that way he met a great many people. After his day's work was done as a research engineer, he would answer the many questions put to him at these little gatherings, and the word-of-mouth publicity spread very rapidly. But that work came to a halt during the period when Cecil D. DeMille was making the movie picture The King of Kings. Mr. Spaulding was engaged by Mr. DeMille as technical advisor on all the biblical work in that picture. My experience with Mr. Spaulding started about 25 years ago. I was particularly interested in the books and their distribution throughout the world. At that time there was a great upward surge in new thought and spiritual readings and studying, and many people were very anxious to have Mr. Spaulding complete another book. Finally, one of his very closest friends invited him to a country cabin where he could work without interruption, and Mr. Spaulding completed in longhand what is now known as Volume 3. That book was published immediately. A rumor started spreading across the country that Mr. Spaulding had passed on, so I suggested to Mr. Spaulding that since he was not sailing for India and a trip around the world until October the 4th, that we go to New York together, stopping at some of the larger cities en route, and meet the many people who had been reading his books and disprove the false rumors being generated. Mr. Spaulding agreed that this would be a good idea if it would be accomplished in about 30 days. So the latter part of August 1935, we selected 30 of the larger cities and decided to make that tour in 30 days. I have a reason for telling this because, as many of you know, Mr. Spaulding, right up until just a few days ago, had almost unlimited energy in a physical form. He was never fatigued. He could go for maybe 2 or 3 weeks with only 3 or 4 hours sleep a night.
This is the UFO News with Joshua Poet.
All right, Dirk, thank you very much. This is today's UFO News, and I have 5 stories. All right, story number 1 comes to us from Buckeye, Arizona. These two sets of two-linked lights hovering in the night sky over Buckeye, Arizona were filmed Thursday the 15th. It's a 6-minute video. I'm not going to play the whole thing. We're just going to get through it. All right, let's go ahead and there we go. All right, you see the object right there? The very top of the screen. Let me just see if we can zip through it here a bit.
I could just see 2 little dots. Look, yeah. Where is that other light on top of it?
Okay.
I'm scared.
All right, it's right at the very top there. You could see it. It's all right. So I'm going to leave the video for you. It's available, so you can check it out. Look a little better. It's a 6-minute video. This one here is over in also Arizona, Phoenix. I was driving home last night, which is an elevated part of the North Valley. I always can see the city lights, airplane traffic, Luke jets, etc. I glance over and see 4 huge glowing orangish lights hovering over the valley. Immediately I pull over and started taking pictures with my cell phone. I also took videos as well. My dad and I are always talking about UFOs and such, so I went ahead and called him to let him know what I was witnessing, and then a second set of lights on one of the same. About 2 minutes after that appeared the first set of 3 lights go out. Since it was on the phone, I was not able to get a picture of the 2 sets together. It's the most amazing thing I've ever seen. And if I had to guess, I would say that each set of lights was attached and had to be at least the size of 2 city blocks. All right, let's take a look at what
right now,
was
I
captured.
am filming a UFO over Phoenix. Looks a lot like
All right, you see it there in the
lights
distance.
over Phoenix. Car.
All right.
Oh my gosh. The 4 lights across the screen right now
There you go.
are orange. Very,
All right, there
very
you go.
large.
That's over Phoenix. Our next sighting takes us to, this is up into space, where you would expect a UFO to be, right? This is out by the space station, a green triangle this time. So we've seen all sorts of objects up there, from the little dots to the long white triangles to the little mouse-like thing that was running along the side. Says this greenish-looking UFO triangle in shape. It must be very close to the ISS. It looks like about 50 meters or less. You can also clearly see one of its edges, which gives us an idea of its width. This was captured by Street Cap 1. Alright, very interesting. So NASA tries to deny that things go on up there, but here we have screenshots from their actual channel. Very interesting. Alright, moving right along. We're going to go to Berlin, Germany. This is a sighting that took place there, a V-shaped formation. This was on Wednesday the 16th. There you go. You can see the V shape. 3 lights. Okay. And one more. This is not a video, but this is a story of a tribe called the Dogon. You know about the Dogon tribe? Well, they are very interesting. They have stories of this race of beings who came down from a planet that's orbiting Sirius, and such a obscure planet that it wasn't believed by scientists or anyone that they actually were being truthful because it was so far out there. And yet later they did discover that the planet does exist, so then they began to wonder now how they knew that information. And they said they received this information from some beings who came down like mermen, they called them. They were beings that were like fish people. Anyway, the story says in Ancient Aliens in Africa, the Dogon people are one of the most fascinating sources of evidence for ancient aliens. The Dogon populate the central plateau region of Mali in Africa. They are said to be between 400,000 and 800,000 in this remote civilization. The Dogon culture has been known for its dramatic art, tribal customs, and most of all their cosmology. The controversy started in 1930 when French anthropologists recorded a strange legend from the Dogon priests. Passed down through oral tradition, the Dogon told of a tale of alien visitation from the star system of Sirius. The alien race was referred to the Nomos and was said to be an aquatic race of humanoid creatures, from the descriptions similar to mermaids or mermen. Interestingly enough, the Babylonian god Isis is often depicted as a mermaid and associated with Sirius. According to the legend, the Nomos descend from the heavens in a great boat that was accompanied with much noise and winds. So this is a really good article talking all about the Dogon tribe. Very, very interesting on who they are, and certainly has brought up a great deal of interest in the UFO community. So check it out. Look up the stories of the Nomos. Maybe next week I'll do something about the Nomos. But, dig into this a little further, but they're pretty interesting. Very interesting looking creatures. All right, there you go. That is our UFO news for today. I'm going to jump away for just a couple moments, and I'll be back. Stay tuned.
What if our government was responsible for some of the greatest crimes against this nation? Would you really want to know? These are big questions, but these questions deserve answers. It's time to demand the truth.
People shouldn't be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of
9/11 was an inside job. Kennedy was killed by the CIA. Jimmy Carter saw UFO. Answers to secrets you need to know. So wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Patriots arise. It's time to demand the truth.
Okay, continuing on. So, we just had these gun laws or executive orders all written out, right? Question is what was talked about exactly what is going on? Okay, it's not some doublespeak. I'm not trying to ask a quick trick question, but I kind of am. Because you know that the way that they operate, the MO is that they're going to put something out and the public's going to jump all over it, but there's something deeper that's going on. Because there was a lot of talk about this gun ban that was going to happen. They were going to start confiscating guns, and they didn't do that. So is this a first step along the way? Because it seems that what they're attacking through the course of these executive orders is the sanity of America. And it seems that they're going in there. And that could be a slippery slope because there's a lot of different points in those executive orders that deal with what is sanity of an individual or not. It seems that it could lead into that. And with the medications, it seems like it might lead to a path of eventually declaring that people that have certain mental conditions and are certain medications now they can have guns and they have a direct reason to do so. So it seems that laws might be, could be put in place to make that happen. And so anyway, here's one of these bills that came up the other day. HR 226, support assault firearms elimination and reduction for our streets. So this is a new bill that was just introduced, and to amend the Internal Revenue Service Code to allow a credit against tax for surrendering to authorities certain assault weapons. So this was just put through. It's a soft way of doing it, but it's getting people to surrender their weapons in exchange for the tax man to get off your back. So that's what's going on. So don't think for a minute that just because they didn't get their gun confiscation the way they wanted it right off the bat, that it's off the table. That would be rather foolish, I think, to dismiss that, because we certainly know that when they have an agenda, they continue at it. And if it takes a little bit longer, it takes a little bit longer. The kind of the double-edged sword for those who are dealing with conspiracy information and conspiracy subjects is that it's an area that when a lot of us start talking out about a problem that's going on, the word gets around the internet. And when the word gets around the internet, it might stop those powers that be from doing the things they were going to do because too many people knew about them. So there certainly is that point that we may never hear, or the general public may never hear those results when things get stopped, when programs get delayed. So those of us who are putting the information just need to keep doing it, regardless of whether we ever hear any good feedback about it, because we are having an effect. The more information we share with each other, the better, and it's definitely having an effect, and it's definitely playing itself out in all of these actions and orders, because the president's not immune from this news, from YouTube, from the internet. No one's immune. The information's all here. Everyone's just finding a way that they behave and react in accordance with the information. So, they're well trained there in Washington. They're well trained in the media to know how to drop certain information out to elicit a certain response. And so if we think in terms of psychology and sociology and look at the moves that are being made by those on the television, in the media, we might be able to see how people are being pushed around a little bit. So just some food for thought. Anyway, going over here to this next piece, I'm just going to play the beginning. It's a 6-minute piece. But this is George Bush in the classroom. And what was really interesting, because having now known what 9/11 was all about, and in hindsight, listen to the first couple moments here of what it is that these kids in the classroom were doing at that time. Very strange when you look at it in retrospect.
Get ready to read all these words on this page without making a mistake. Look at the letter at the end and remember the sound it makes. Get ready. Kite. Yes, kite. Get ready to read this word the fast way. Get ready. Kid. Yes, kid. Sound it out. Get ready. Kid. Sound it out. Get ready. Kid. What word? Kid. Yes, kid. Boys and girls, sound this word out. Get ready. Steel. What word? Steel. Yes, steel. Read these words the fast way. Get ready. Playing. Yes, playing. Get ready. Must. Yes, must. Let's read these words the fast way without making a mistake. Get ready. Kite. Yes, kite. Get ready. Kit. Yes, kit. Get ready. Steel. Yes, steel. Get ready. Playing. Yes, playing. Get ready. Must. Yes, must. Boys and girls, pick your reader up from under your seat. Open your...
All right, I don't know what that means, but isn't that a weird coincidence that the kids are saying that? I never saw that before, and yeah, very weird. Another one of those weird things, right? Okay. This is a piece from Ron Paul, an interview he's recently done, and it's a 15-minute interview. I'm just going to play about 5 minutes for you here so you can get an idea of what this is all about and what he had to say. So here we go.
Good morning, Dr. Paul.
Good morning. Nice to be with you.
How are you?
I'm doing fine.
You going to go back to being just Citizen Paul after you're done?
Well, I'd have trouble sitting still. I hope I can still be active and participate in the discussion that I've been interested in, and so far so good. But I've had a little bit of time to relax, too.
We seem to be having just a little bit of an erosion in that whole freedom and smaller government thing going on here.
Well, how do you mean?
Well, we want if we're the only ones noticing this, but it seems like we've got a king instead of a president who's just up there telling us how it's going to be.
Oh yeah, well, they have been eroding up there for a long time, so I don't think much about that city up there and the political process of the two parties. But the freedom movement for me is outside of Washington. It's with a different group of people. It's with a new generation. It's what's on the internet. And that is where I see the growth and the interest and the enthusiasm. So if I look at outside of Washington, I think there's lots to be optimistic about. If you look at Washington, D.C. and the budgetary process and what they do on a day-to-day basis, you can get pretty depressed over that. So I have to look to the positive things. And I think there are some positive things. But on the short run, I don't think they're going to straighten the mess out up in Washington. So I'm sort of anticipating a time when there will be major decisions made, because this system we have today isn't viable. It's going to get a lot worse. And I'm just hoping we have enough numbers to put it back together again with some common sense, rather than saying, well, what we need is more government. We need the United Nations to come in and take care of us. Because
I think that's the plan, isn't it? We'll get there. We'll get there.
Yeah, that's the group that we're competing with. But let's hope the American people wake up. I mean, we go to international organizations already. We ask them about trade and monetary policy and welfare problems when you go to war. And I'm sort of old-fashioned on that. I think that should be a national issue, and government should be close to home. And so we have a lot of work to do. I'm not complacent at all to think that it's going to be an easy fight, but I am encouraged to think that a lot of people are starting to wake up and realize that this is not sustainable. And anybody who thinks, oh yeah, we'll go along with the Paul Krugmans of the world and just print a lot of money and that solves everybody's problem, it's verging on insanity as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, that's kind of the plan. We just print a little more money. It's not real money. It doesn't matter. You can print as much of it as you want. Well, Mr. Paul or Dr. Paul, a lot of people here at the Walter Johnson Show are constantly asking us, what are we going to do about it? We point out these problems all day long. What are we going to do about it? Is there a leader out there that will risk losing whatever it is they're going to lose? Will that somebody be you that will step up and just charge ahead, fight this fight, and say, follow me, we'll take them down?
Well, I hope we have a lot of people like that, and that's where I think our numbers of growing. I think it's the endorsement of ideas that's more important than one person, because you could have the perfect president, and he wants to lead the charge. But if the people say, no, we love these wars, we should start one with Iran right now, and we agree with Keynesian economics and we agree with the Federal Reserve. So if people's attitudes are like that, in general they still are, they endorse, both political parties endorse the idea that the government should do these things. They should be the safety net, and we should be the policemen of the world.
Well, I've heard that
one person can present the case, but you got to convince people that we're doing the wrong things, and that's where I think our numbers are growing.
Well, I hear from the media that the Tea Party is pretty much done.
The worst.
That it's over now.
The worst thing there
is the Tea Party dead?
Well, I think in many ways it's undermined itself because if people were honest and looked at where it started. It started in 2007 during our first presidential campaign. It was spontaneous. It perked up. It had certain views, and then the Republican organizations came in, and they say, hey, there is a Tea Party movement there. We got to go in there and sort of take over. And in many ways, it became an arm of the Republican Party. But as far as I'm concerned, the original organization, which was spontaneous, is still there. There is still a large group of people who are studying and reading and know about Austrian economics. They study the Federal Reserve. They know why we should bring our troops home. And that group of people isn't, they were part of the Tea Party. The Tea Party undermined it. But that group of people who believe this way still exists, and those numbers are growing. But, once the Tea Party all of a sudden had national leaders, which became an arm of the Republican Party, they sort of undermined themselves.
All right, so the video's available, the link's available, so you can check out the rest of it. There's another 10 minutes of that. All right, this piece here is a good question because we all talk about, we have these concerns that there could be some sort of cataclysm we're going to have to deal with one way or the other, and we're going to have to know about survival. So it's always good to remind ourselves from time to time just on some things. These days it is easy to go about the business of survival and preparedness without stopping to think about the rules of engagement. For most of us, these rules are not written and are not spoken, but are just something that has evolved over a period of time. As I have expressed many times in the past, the burden of knowledge, and perhaps I should say the burden of truth, can be a huge weight to bear. That, coupled with the crazy busy task of life during these hard times, can be overwhelming. Getting up each day, going to work, doing chores, balancing the checkbook, taking care of family members. It's all a big job, but add prepping and learning survival skills to the mix and you have a recipe for exhaustion and perhaps even a bit of depression and gloom. So, Commandment 1, have the will to live no matter what. Commandment 2, be self-sufficient and self-reliant without wanting or needing excessive government assistance. Commandment 3, seek knowledge as a solution to problems. Commandment 4, adapt to the surroundings wherever they may be. Commandment 5, embrace decisiveness as a core value. Commandment 6, channel fear into positive actions. Commandment 7, defend your right to freedom and the tenets of the U.S. Constitution. Commandment 8, respect others and their right to privacy. Commandment 9, pursue love and laughter on a daily basis. And Commandment 10, be authentic to your real self and to those around you. It says, these 10 commandments of survival were set down to help me cope with my own anxiety and sense of uncertainty about our future as citizens of the world. As a prepper, I know I cannot prepare for every single one of our global problems, nor can I prevent Mother Nature from doing what she is going to do and when the time comes. At best, all I can do is to continue to learn to be self-reliant and independent so that I can keep in check my sanity and my ability to think rationally. Some days it is difficult, and so I will keep looking at these 10 commandments and will continue to think of ways that I can do more. At the end of the day, it is all I can do. So, these are good points, and to me, reading through them, it seems like they're more than just survival points. It seems like they're just basic points of living, as well, because if we lived according to this way, there's a lot of value in there. teaching us how to live, because we really have become so self-reliant on a system, and the system's falling apart, and so that's the biggest worry that's out there. But what would happen if what's falling apart is probably the best thing? What if everyone's hanging on so tightly to this fiscal cliff, feeling that if we go over the cliff, something bad's going to happen? But what if that's the best thing? Because what if once everything breaks down, that gives people an opportunity to really build something fresh that works? Because if something's falling, it's because it's broken, right? So do we want to continue to prop up something that's broken? Because that's why it's falling. It's crumbling apart. So we need to use our resourcefulness and come up with something better, and not expect the government to do it, because they're not going to do it. They have no interest in helping the people to do something better. They say they do. We want to believe that they do, but the actions don't seem to be for the people. They seem to be for their own little small group that they have. Okay, so here is 3-minute news. This is from Suspicious Observers. Always good reports. Here we go.
Good morning, folks. It would take much longer than the news to break these maps down, and I highly suggest checking it out yourself. It's a special climate statement from the Australian BOM regarding the record-breaking heat there. Link is below. This is an animation of Comet Ison. I actually see some trailers behind it, don't you? Anyway, you will be seeing hundreds of things like this as Ison approaches, and still, despite my best efforts, everyone is focused on the November perihelion. Check my 3-minute news from January 1st, 2013 to see why, if this thing truly is a great comet, you wouldn't need to wait that long. Top story in my opinion. The main detracting point for those claiming a solar system shift isn't real was the questioning of Saturn's change. No more. Chalk up Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Mars, Moon, Venus, Sun, and Earth all showing a shift. Search for my video called Solar System Shift. The ESA is looking for ideas to deflect asteroids, magnets. There was a giant wave impact near the southern tip of South America. About 3 hours later, an extreme tide flooded coastal areas and caused a lot of damage. In South Korea, a nuclear plant was shut down due to a technical failure. Some more extreme readings from spaceship Earth over on the left precede a rise in cosmic ray density shown on the Muon network on the right, still below 101. The CME from yesterday's news came in multiple waves. Just after the news, another wave hit that peaked the temperature of the solar wind. The GOES magnetometer shows that we took a good hard whack, Fluxgate magnetometer showing the same. The rheometer shows plasma penetration at the red spiked absorption line. We took significant baseline resonance, and even afterwards the 2.2 Hz induction continued. Planetary energy was still largely in flux for most of the night on both a positive and negative scale, even as the CME waned. Luckily, a full geomagnetic storm was not produced, just instability. The CME that I thought would hit tonight has been revised by NOAA to hit tomorrow night. I'm suspicious, but we can go with that for now. You can see that yesterday's huge eruption is set to nearly sweep up that earlier one and strike together tomorrow night. Earth footprint is firmly locked into the huge decaying disappointment of an active region. You can see some of the individual connections still below from before the flare and now turning the edge. This active region has no delta spots. Its gamma class is a technicality based on the spread of the area. If it weren't for the fact that departing sunspots wake back up, I'd have zero concern for our connection being here. As Mercury conjoins the Sun today, the quake watch nears its end, with luckily only one significant quake, and luckily further, there weren't many people out in the southern Pacific to feel it. There may actually be a cause to extend the watch another 2 to 3 days due to the fact that a significant coronal hole is turning in to face Earth. We do have the potential for geomagnetic instability in the coming days and more energetic flux. Without planetary alignments, the watch would be small, eyes open, no fear. At 6:15 a.m. Eastern Time, and that's the news. Be safe, everyone.
All right, another good report. So check this out. You know how sometimes there's videos that their numbers get messed with? Well, here's a good example. Someone's obviously messed with the numbers of this video, because look at this. 301 views, but 557 likes. Okay. Something seems a bit odd with that, doesn't it? How is there more views than there are likes? People just went there and just started clicking on the like button? Maybe, but that many more people. So, chances are, and that someone's messing with the numbers because that doesn't look right. And it's because the information being presented is, good information. And that's usually the way it goes. When someone's putting out some information that's good, their numbers gets messed with. Seen it before, you've seen it, it's not a surprise, right? Okay. Now, this is an article called 10 Things for Conscious People to Focus on in 2013. And it's important to keep our focus on these things because, well, let me just get into it. The long anticipated and prophesied year 2012 is come and gone. Yet the problems and the challenges facing mankind and planet Earth remain. Those who have put stock in the idea of conscious evolution are now faced with the burden of proof. Is there any legitimacy to this idea of a shift? Some human experiences prove too extraordinary and too far outside the purview of science and intellect to effectively put into words. Because of this, many people who have felt the shift taking place in their recent lives, such as I, find it difficult to convey the significance of what we feel taking place in the realms of our own psyches and amongst the collective human consciousness. As a result, we are often at odds with family, friends, and colleagues who view conscious evolution as some sort of quackery or New Age jargon that has practical no value in a turbulent world where autocrats and a malignant elite are becoming increasingly cancerous to prosperity, liberty, and ecosystems of planet Earth. Straddling this dichotomy, we must find actionable ways to demonstrate how the betterment of mankind is possible amongst the tidal wave of disasters and bad news confronting us all. In this challenge lies the greatest opportunity of our lives. Yet if we rise to this challenge, our efforts will naturally combine with the efforts of other conscious people to assist in the betterment of households, communities, and nations. But make no mistake, we are tasked with an overwhelming contest of power, of willpower, and perseverance. In order to help steel your resolve and open up your heart, I've compiled a short list of 10 things for conscious people to focus on in 2013 that will give you a framework of daily action so that you can better engage the world in your understanding, the shift, and better exemplify the positive qualities of the human race. So here's this guy's list of 10. These are just a good list. Dispel fear from your life. Kill it once and for all. Bury it. Never look back. The greatest force working against the rightful destiny of mankind is fear. Okay. Improve the total self. We are sick and immature. We are unenlightened, apathetic, and selfish. We are overweight, dumb, cruel, and sensational. Yet, we are simultaneously radiant, compassionate, and capable of amazing acts of love. So what is your true rightful nature? Where is your soul most alive and inspired? The total health of the individual is mandatory in addressing these questions. Become what you should be, alert, alive, awake, and happy. Reconnect with the great earth. Greater than any political crisis or national tragedy, the suffrages being waged against this planet will lead to more devastation and disruption than the mind can fathom. It's time right now to engage yourself in goodwill towards our ecosystems and the life they support. You are nothing without a healthy planet, and the responsibility for a shift towards sustainability lies squarely on your shoulders. No longer can you fall for the empty promises of the elite to steward a healthy environment. You must act now in protest to the failed materialistic systems that extract, deplete, frack, and burn the very substance of life. Disengage with materialism and dig deep into the soul for relief from the madness consuming us all. 4. Abandon conflict. Sickness of conflict is the obstacle to all things positive. No longer is it acceptance to violently argue with friends and family about the intentions of the ruling class, and no longer can you allow your energy to be sucked into battles of opinion or want. Learn to observe, learn to listen, learn to give rather than to solely take. Your opinion matters, but in the great scheme of things, to one's opinion is more valuable to another. Try living with this philosophy in your daily life, and watch to see how much easier it is to influence other people. Practice gratitude daily. This is point number 5. Gratitude is love in action. Love is the antithesis to fear and casts light upon all the dark parts of life. Cherish your time with those you know and love, and say thank you daily to whichever God you worship. Take the time to specifically mention the things in your life that make life richer, fuller, more beautiful, no matter how small. The transformational power of gratitude is unparalleled, and in all those who engage in fulfilling acts of appreciation are rewarded with happiness in even the most adverse of situations. Adopt a spirit of charity and kindness. Part 6. The greatest achievement of an accomplished person is to abandon selfishness and live in service to others. Small things make a difference in this world, and the clearest path to happiness within is to engage in kindness without. Employ this idea any chance you can to find the goodwill you demonstrate to others is guaranteed to return tenfold, affecting your own prosperity and well-being. 7. Be creative. The human race is endowed with unbelievable ingenuity and curiosity, which offers us unlimited possibilities in creating worthwhile lives and correcting our collective mistakes. Yet conditioned to operate in patterns of habit, human beings are prone to growing stale in life and moving only within self-restrictive boundaries. And we have 8. Explore consciousness and cultivate spirituality. There is so much more to our existence than the physical reality we accept as our material universe. Beyond that lies a vast infinity of awareness and surprises that can be assessed by various means, adding a richness and a fullness to everyday life which is incomprehensible to our scientific minds. Explore this, and you will discover a limitless source of inspiration, which will allow you to look at the material world with renewed curiosity and calm passivity. The unexplored realms of your consciousness is a place where peace resides, and the cultivation of individual spirituality is the gateway to this peace. Number 9, get prepared. The world is sadly on the edge of all of our war, and for many nations this already is far too real. Here in the United States we are facing systemic crisis of biblical proportions as depression deepens and the economy is completely hollowed out by the elite. Our food supply is compromised by corporate insanity and fascist controls, and frighteningly, we are facing the very serious prospect of civil war in America as the government advances its long-predicted agenda to disarm the American public. Preppers are not crazy, they are prudent, and will be the saving grace of many when the inevitable collapse materializes in a flash. Don't be foolish enough to mistake this calm before the storm as business as usual. Put together a plan and provisions for at least a basic level of readiness for yourself and your family. It's not just a good idea, it is your responsibility. And last, practice what you preach. It says people love to talk and share information which is beneficial up to this point, but the dire nature of our global situation demands that you set an example with this knowledge so others can learn directly from your actions, not your ideas. Right now, today, at this very moment, is the time to be bold and become the type of person who makes positive things happen in the world. Make a note of your interests and passions and get to it as though your hair was on fire. With every breath you take, you are closer to death, whatever that brings, and the value of your waking life is immeasurable, so make it count. All right, so it's a good list here, good list of things to consider. Just throw in my 2 cents on all this. We've come to a point, we've crossed this threshold into the new time. Plato calls it the great year. We've gone all the way around 226,000 years. So now, December 21st happened, a new cycle has begun. There's a lot of people out there searching for what does this mean? What does this mean? Because there wasn't the big fantastic moment that everybody stopped and noticed. There was something much subtler that happened. And some people have quickly dismissed it as, well, it was just a hoax. The Mayans played a big hoax on everybody. But there are others who are looking to find the meaning of that. And that's what's more important, to focus. Because for such a long period of time we were told this was an important period. The Mayans didn't just leave this behind because they had nothing better to do. They talked about a great shift in our spirituality. So as we've come to this time, it would appear that we now need to understand how to begin over again, how to start fresh, because that's what this is. We've experienced a war, so we don't need to experience that again. This is a new opportunity to come up with something different. We've experienced all the poverty and all of the other bad stuff, but that cycle closed out. And so if we can just take our attention and just get ourselves understanding that that cycle closed, and now we've started something new, something fresh, and we can create something different this time. And I know there's a lot of talk out there that the powers that be always win. Maybe not this time. Maybe this is the time when the people win. So maybe what we need to do is put behind all of that other mindset about what we knew before, because that was the closing out of a cycle, and understand that with the beginning of this new cycle, this could be a new phase where the people win, where enlightenment takes over, where all the good things we want to have happen. And it doesn't have to be a violent process. Ideally, it shouldn't be a violent process, because as we evolve in consciousness, it should be a process that is more enlightened. So information is part of that process. The more we share this information, the more we're going to open up in consciousness. Even the leaders around the world, even they are affected by the energy around us. Even their consciousness can be affected. All things have a possibility of being changed. So just because it hasn't happened in the past doesn't mean we can't do this now. So let's just focus on that. The old is ended. We're beginning something new. Let's create the possibilities. Let's imagine the world that we want to have without all of the problems. I know it's a challenge because there's a lot of distractions around, but if we could just imagine that, perhaps we can imagine that into existence. The mind is all. We can create. So let's consider that. Let's consider that as we do today's meditation. So I want you to imagine that you are standing in a room, and in front of you is a computer. And that computer represents the mind of the universe. And as you look at the computer and read the instructions, you understand that you have the ability to create the program that you would like to see. And as you begin to type away on that computer to program the universe to the new plan, you notice that the computer starts to fade away and disappear. It changes into another form, changes into nature, something a bit more holographic. And as the computer changes, you change with the computer and understand how to continue to program it. And as these worlds merge together, you understand that the universe is a mental construct, and that as we think, we can manifest within this. We understand that the old programming has ended. 26,000 years of programming has come to an end, and we are now at the new beginning, a new program. And so we write the new program of what it is we wish to see: a world of peace, a world without deception, a world of truth, a world of strength, a world of people fully enlightened and awake, a world where good overcomes dark, overcomes evil, where light overcomes dark. And as we consider all of these possibilities, we realize that all of these truths, these possibilities, exist and are able to exist simply by us allowing them to exist. So imagine, as you look down at your ankles, you see these chains around them. And when you look at the chains, they go on and on. Big, heavy links connected to these huge iron balls that you're dragging behind you. And all of these things that are attached to it represent that old pattern, those old cycles. And as you look ahead, you know that you are in the new phase. And you know that walking forward with all of these shackles is going to make this journey more difficult. So you hold your hand in front of you and you imagine a key. And a key appears. And you use that key to reach down and unlock those shackles. And you step away from them and you continue walking free from the past. And as you walk forward into the future, you know now that with the past released, all the possibilities in the world exist. You know that the peace that we desire is now truly possible. That the love we want to show in the world is available. And that good winning over bad is our destiny. So as we continue to move along that path unconsciously, moving forward towards our destiny, which is success, let's bring our conscious mind back to the present moment on the count of 3. 3, coming back to the present moment filled with confidence. 2, coming back to the present moment filled with faith. And 1, coming back to the present moment happy, healthy, and whole. Happy, healthy, and whole. Alrighty, there you have it. We've made it through another week. Enjoy your weekend. If you have any ideas and thoughts of things that you'd like to hear on the show, send me an email, firstcontactradio@yahoo.com. And other than that, just have a great weekend. I will talk to you next week. Peace. I'm out of here.